I believed that learning about success was the same as doing the work to achieve it. I believed that buying the tool meant I'd built the thing. I believed that because I had a vision board, the universe owed me the vision. The biggest lie I was telling myself wasn't, "I'll do it tomorrow." It was much more seductive. The lie was, "I am already the person I want to be, because I can imagine her so clearly." The cursor kept blinking. The sky outside began to shift from black to a deep bruised blue. A new day was coming, ready or not, and I had a choice. I could fall back into the familiar, comfortable cycle. I could join that workshop, take more notes, feel another temporary surge of hope. Or I could do something terrifying. I could look at the one real thing in front of me, the unfinished paper, and just start. Not perfectly, not with a new app, not after I'd organized my desktop and bought a new notebook. Just now, in the mess. My hand moved to the trackpad. I didn't open a new tab. I didn't search for motivation. I just clicked, right on that blinking cursor in the middle of my pathetic, half-empty document. I took a breath that felt like my first real one all night, and I typed a single, awful sentence. It was grammatically questionable. It was probably wrong. But it was there. It was on the screen. It was real. It was a crack in the glass. And for the first time in a long time, I felt a tiny, fragile thread of hope. Not the frantic, sugary hope of a new purchase, but the quiet, sturdy hope of a first step, however small, however clumsy. So I typed that sentence. It wasn't good. It was something like, "A good digital marketing strategy needs to understand the customer." Groundbreaking stuff, right? But I did it. I felt a little spark, a tiny victory in the 4 a.m. silence. I wish I could tell you that was it, that the spell was broken, that I finished the paper, aced the class, and my life transformed into a montage set to upbeat music. That's not what happened. What happened was this. I got 3 paragraphs in. My brain, like a petulant child, suddenly decided it was exhausted. The sun was coming up, painting my wall a pale gray. My body felt like it was made of lead. I thought, okay, good start. I'll pick this up after my 10 a.m. class. I've broken the seal. I closed the laptop. I crawled into bed for 2 hours of broken, anxious sleep. When my alarm went off, the familiar fog rolled back in. The tiny spark from before was gone, buried under a mountain of real life. I dragged myself to my online class. My professor, Dr. Evans, was a tiny square on my screen, talking about market segmentation. My mind was 1,000 miles away. I was mentally designing a new, better morning routine. This one would involve green juice for sure, and maybe one of those sunrise alarm clocks. That was the missing piece. If my mornings were perfect, then I'd be productive. After class, I opened my laptop again. I looked at those 3 paragraphs. They looked small. They looked stupid. Who was I kidding? This paper wasn't going to change anything. Chloe from Instagram was probably closing a 5-figure deal right now. Mark was probably getting interviewed for a design blog. I didn't open the document. Instead, I opened a fresh, clean page. At the top, I wrote in big, bold letters, Alex 2.0. Reboot plan. This felt better. This felt powerful. I started listing my new identity. I am a disciplined entrepreneur. I am a morning person. I am a digital creator. I spent 45 minutes choosing the perfect font. I found a stock photo of a person silhouetted against a mountain at sunrise. I put that as the background. It looked incredible. It looked like the homepage of someone who had their life together. I leaned back in my expensive ergonomic chair. I felt a surge of pride. This was the real me, the visionary, the planner, the person in that stock photo, conquering peaks. Then my stomach growled. I was hungry. I hadn't eaten. The reality of my empty fridge, my empty wallet until Friday, came crashing back. I needed to DoorDash something, but ordering food felt beneath me now. I was Alex 2.0. Visionaries probably meal prepped, so I did what any sensible future successful person would do. I opened another tab. I researched meal prep containers for 20 minutes. I added a set of glass, portion-controlled containers to my Amazon cart. $49.99. I didn't buy them, but they were in the cart. That counted as progress. By the end of the day, my reboot plan was a masterpiece. It had color coding, it had time blocks, it had inspiring quotes. My actual to-do list, the one containing finish paper, do laundry, call mom, was untouched. But I felt strangely accomplished. I had clarified my identity. I was building the brand of future Alex. This, my friends, is the second trap, and it's the most dangerous one because it feels so good. It's not the trap of laziness. It's the identity's trap. We fall in love with the idea of who we want to be. We craft this elaborate, beautiful, shiny avatar in our minds. We buy its uniform, the right notebooks, the specific water bottle. We learn its language. We talk about synergy and levering our core competencies. We curate its social media feed. The fantasy becomes so vivid, so satisfying, that the actual work of becoming that person feels like a letdown. It feels ordinary. Why grind through a boring paper when you can be a thought leader? Why make a clumsy first website when you can identify as a tech innovator? The identity itself becomes the product, and we are its most devoted consumers. Do you ever have one of those days? You know, the ones where your to-do list is a mile long, but your motivation is nowhere to be found. You sit down, ready to work, and suddenly, cleaning the grout in your bathroom seems like the most urgent task in the world. I used to live in that state, a constant battle between what I needed to do and what I felt like doing, which was usually anything else. My desk was a graveyard of unfinished projects, and the guilt was piling up faster than the paperwork. I felt stuck, like I was drowning in my own procrastination. Then, one day, while rummaging through a kitchen drawer, looking for a snack, another classic avoidance tactic, I found it. A simple, little, egg-shaped kitchen timer. It was dusty and forgotten, probably a stocking stuffer from years ago. On a whim, I thought, what if I just try? What if I set this thing for just 25 minutes and promise myself I'll only work on that one dreaded report for that short amount of time? No checking my phone, no getting up for water, just pure focused work until the timer dings. So I twisted the dial. The ticking started, a quiet, steady rhythm. At first it was torture. My brain was screaming at me to do anything else, check social media, organize my bookshelf, stare out the window. But the ticking was a constant reminder of my promise to myself. It was like a tiny coach, sitting on my desk, whispering, "Just a little longer, you can do this." Slowly, something magical began to happen. As the minutes ticked by, I started to get into a flow. The outside world faded away, and it was just me and the task. When the timer finally buzzed, I was shocked. Not only had the 25 minutes flown by, but I'd actually made significant progress. More progress than I'd made in the past 3 days of staring at a blank page. The feeling wasn't relief that it was over. It was accomplishment. I felt a surge of momentum I hadn't felt in ages. So, I did it again. I took a 5-minute break, stretched, and then wound up the timer for another round. This little egg timer became my secret weapon against procrastination. This technique, which I later learned is part of a method called the Pomodoro technique, broke my overwhelming tasks into small, manageable chunks. The ticking created a sense of urgency without the anxiety. It transformed my "I have to finish this entire project" mindset into "I just have to work for the next 25 minutes." That shift was everything. It gamified my work. Each ding of the timer was like leveling up in a video game. I started applying it to everything. Writing emails, cleaning the house, even practicing guitar. The mountain of work that once seemed insurmountable was now just a series of small, conquerable hills. The guilt that used to follow me around was replaced by a sense of control and pride. I was no longer a victim of my own procrastination. I was the one setting the timer, the one in charge. So if you're feeling stuck, buried under a pile of things you keep putting off, I challenge you to find a timer. It doesn't have to be a cute egg-shaped one. Your phone timer works just as well. Set it for a short, non-intimidating amount of time. Maybe just 15 or 20 minutes. Pick one task, and one task only. And just start. You might be amazed at what you can accomplish when you just give yourself a little push and a deadline. It's not about finding more time. It's about making the time you have truly count. This simple trick completely changed my relationship with work and productivity. It's not a magic pill, but it's a powerful tool that can help you build momentum and prove to yourself that you are capable of tackling those big, scary goals. Give it a try, and let me know how it goes. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more tips on living a more productive life. See you in the next one. I glanced at the tomato. The hand was still sweeping. Tick-tock. I had 10 minutes left. I made a decision. I typed, in all caps, right in the middle of my document, "This is a mess. Fix later." And then I just kept writing past it. I gave myself permission to be messy, as long as I was moving forward. The final 5 minutes were strange. The resistance was still there, but it had lost its teeth. It was just background noise now. I was in the ditch, my teaspoon was moving, and I could see a small pile of dirt. Progress. And then the timer didn't just ding, it erupted, brrring, brrring, brrring. The sound was so violently loud, so shockingly analog, I actually jumped in my chair, my heart hammered against my ribs. It was the most unzen, uncalm sound imaginable. It was a fire alarm for my focus. The sound echoed in the small space, and then faded into a ringing silence. I was breathing hard, as if I'd just run a sprint. I looked at the screen. I had written 2 full pages. They were terrible. The grammar was shaky. The argument was wobbly. The "this is a mess" note glared in the middle. But it was there. It was real. It was more than double what I'd had 25 minutes ago. I leaned back. A slow, deep feeling spread through my chest. It wasn't the frantic high of a new idea. It wasn't the smug satisfaction of a perfect plan. This was different. It was solid. It was quiet. It was the feeling of a small, hard, honest object that you've made with your own hands. I had kept a promise to myself. A tiny, 25-minute promise. And in a world where I'd broken so many grand promises, this one tiny kept promise felt like a miracle. I looked at the tomato timer with newfound respect. It wasn't stupid anymore. It was a merciless, truthful friend. This is the secret no one talks about. The first real action isn't about motivation. It's about a decision so simple it feels almost insulting. It's about creating a tiny impermeable container, a flick of time, and putting your whole self inside it. No exits, no emergency hatches. That 25 minutes was a crack in the universe of my old habits. Light was getting in, and more importantly, I was seeing what was on the other side, not instant success, but the quiet dignity of showing up. I want to be really clear with you. This is the exact moment, right here. This is where 95% of people quit. They try the timer once. The friction feels awful. The boredom is intense. The result isn't beautiful. They think, see, it didn't work. I didn't feel inspired. This method is flawed. And they go back to searching for a better method, a better course, a better planner. But the friction isn't failure. The friction is the feeling of your old, soft life, resisting the new, stronger one you're trying to build. The boredom isn't a sign you're doing it wrong. It's a sign you're finally doing something real, something that isn't artificially stimulating your brain with novelty. When that timer went off, I was at a crossroads. I could have stopped. I had my 2 pages. I could have said good enough and rewarded myself with 3 hours of video games. But the kept promise had changed the weather in the room. Just a little. I looked at the tomato. I reached out my hand. I flipped it over and I wound the dial again. Click, click, click. I didn't start it. Not yet. I got up. I walked to the sink and poured myself a glass of water. I drank the whole thing, feeling the coolness all the way down. I looked out my window at the Chicago skyline, gray and steady under the April sky. I walked back to the table. I sat down. The 2 pages waited for me. They were messy, but they were mine. My thumb found the big red button again. This time, when I pressed it, it wasn't an act of desperation. It was an act of quiet rebellion. A rebellion against the hollow identity, against the curated life, against the tyranny of my own distracted mind. Click, tick, tock. The sound was the same. But I was different. I was in the 5% now. And let me tell you, the view from here, while not always pretty, is real. And there is no feeling in the world more powerful than that. So I pressed the button again. That second 25 minutes was harder than the first. The novelty had worn off. My brain knew what was coming. The itch, the boredom, the urge to escape. And it protested louder. But I had the memory of the first victory. I had the 2 pages. I clung to that. When the timer went off that second time, I had a rough draft. It was a Frankenstein's monster of a paper, stitched together with bad transitions and my all-caps notes to myself. But it was complete. For the first time in weeks, I had carried something across the finish line. I hit submit on the course portal. The little spinning wheel appeared, and then the green check mark. A wave of pure, clean relief washed over me. It wasn't pride exactly. It was more like the feeling you get when you finally take out the trash that's been stinking up the kitchen. A simple, necessary thing was done. That was day 1. Day 2 was the real test. The paper was gone. The immediate pressure was off. I woke up, and the old comfortable fog tried to roll back in. You did the thing. You can take a day off. You deserve it. It was a convincing argument. My hand reached for my phone, sitting on the charger next to my bed. But then I saw the red tomato timer on the kitchen counter, catching the morning light. I remembered the feeling of the brarding and the solidity of those 2 pages. I didn't want to lose that feeling. So, I made a deal with myself. I wasn't going to try and change my whole life. And let me tell you, it really is a war. It's a quiet, internal battle against the most deeply ingrained parts of yourself. So if you're feeling stuck in that same cycle of distraction and procrastination, maybe it's not about a massive life overhaul. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. The biggest change was in the quality of my exhaustion. Now, I was physically tired in a good way. The fatigue at the end of the day had a quiet, satisfied edge to it. I won't lie. Some days the flick felt like pulling teeth. It was proof that I could show up for myself, day after day, even when it was hard, even when it was boring. The war wasn't over. I knew that. But I had fortified my position. I had a set of simple, stupid rules that worked. I had learned that discipline isn't a character trait you're born with. It's a series of small, repeatable actions you build, one 25-minute flick at a time. And the most surprising discovery of all, the less I tried to be Alex 2.0, the visionary, and the more I just became Alex, the guy who does his flicks.